Hi everyone, this is Julie Bruns. Welcome to the Peace and Possibilities podcast. I want you to thrive and be happy, peaceful, and content, no matter where you are on your journey. This podcast shares stories that will show you how it can be done, no matter what your circumstances. You'll be inspired and come away with a new spark of an idea. Never forget, anything is possible. New episodes are released every Wednesday. Subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. This helps others find our content and get happier sooner. To possibility and beyond. All right, welcome everyone to this episode. This is Dan Kelleher. Dan, I'm saying your name correctly, Kelleher?
Yep, you're getting it. It's a good old Irish name.
Yes. So Dan and I met through, you guys have heard me talk about the virtual 5 o'clock networking community that I'm a part of. And Dan has been, I think you've been a part of it since the beginning, right, Dan?
Yep, just about the very beginning of the partner in Fidance Insurance Brokerage actually was a founder of it.
Yeah, Alan. So he was on my podcast. He was awesome. And, you know, it's just nice to talk to people from that community because everyone wants to help everyone else. And it's a genuinely, it's just a good group of people. And I will always say that about B50. So if you want to find out more about it, I think it's virtual5o'clock.com is the actual website.
Correct, virtual5o'clock.com.
Yeah. So thanks for being here. I'm excited to learn a little bit more about you because I know what you do now, but I don't know how you got there. And, you know, what did you want to do growing up? What did you dream about? And how did you end up in this role? And what do you love about it? Did you always see yourself doing what you're doing?
So I grew up, always wanting to be a weatherman, to be honest. I just loved like thunderstorms and snowstorms and all of those types of things. But it was very sciencey, techy, and, the math got a little bit too crazy for me at Penn State. But, it always just interests me in helping people. I've always been in a service type of job. And what drew me to this job really was just helping people in their greatest moment of need and preparing for that, especially businesses. And that just really drew my attention to it because I'm a very technical person. I love the devil's in the details, and that's how I gravitated towards this job. And I'm good at customer service and I'm kind of tech oriented. So it kind of mixed hand in hand with how the industry's going. That's
an important distinction because I've been in the tech world myself, IT consulting and healthcare. I have been in learning development for a long time, but some of the companies I worked for were very technical, and it's really hard to find people that are technical and have good customer service skills. I'm sure you've been told that before, or the devil's in the details. I mean, the old comparison was always like a CPA is a person who's numbers focused, head down, and not really, conversationalist, that kind of thing. And some of it, that's true. And sometimes you meet accountants who are very vibrant and energetic. But most of the time, if you're super technical, it's because you're very analytical, and you're not, conversations and being extroverted isn't really in your DNA.
I don't know. I think I got the best of both worlds from the
past.
Yes. Both of them are very social, but they're also I'm how do you say it? I'm a overworker. I constantly work. I just can't get it out of my mind. And that's just what it always is for me, but that's always a good thing. I guess in this day and age is just, trying to progress, but also using technology to be the most efficient that you can be with the most amount of your time, because time is a precious commodity, especially in business. So it's one of those things that you really have to pay attention to, because if there's a process that can shave the smallest amount of time off your hands, that's going to really help out in the long run.
Yeah. That's the best part of technology, in my opinion, making your lives it's supposed to be making your lives better, easier, giving you more time to do other things that are more important, like family and friends and enjoying your life. So there's a lot of obviously great things about technology. And the more I said to my husband the other night, we were talking to our accountant for tax season. I said, I'm so glad there's people on this planet that love doing that, because I loathe it. I loathe spreadsheets and the whole numbers thing and everything. And I can't stand it. And I just love that there's someone that goes, yes, let me take that from you. You can pay me a good wage and let me handle it for you. I'm like, I'm so thankful and grateful for that. And that's what makes, right?
Or like, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah.
you know, as long as you're not trying to rip me off, which I'm not,
Right.
because
Right.
you have to add the other piece into work is integrity. You have to have
Yep.
integrity and character, and people are going to see that no matter what industry you're in. I started
Yeah.
off as a landscaper, and then I was in federal financial aid, then I was a GM for a restaurant. All three of those are forward facing to customers, so
Yeah.
you learn real fast how to deal with people and situations, and people can see through those things if you're not doing it correctly. So,
Yeah.
and you know, going back to what you said about, you know, not wanting to do something because you don't want to deal with a spreadsheet. Insurance is one of those things, but it's also one of those things that you have to make sure is in order because you need it.
Mhm.
Every business needs it.
Right. Yeah, so funny. Oh, that's interesting that you were a GM for a restaurant. I had a long career in restaurants. Uh, when I was a teenager, I worked in them, and all through college, and even
Right.
as a young adult in the corporate world, I was still working at night and two jobs, that kind of thing. It's like it does teach you so much. And both our boys worked in them when they were. One still does. But it's like everyone needs to, in our opinion, my husband worked in them too. Everyone needs to be in that environment for just a little bit to appreciate it, to understand the whole like dealing with the real world and problem solving. And yeah,
And, you know, I fully agree with that statement, and it's to teach you to be able to deal with high stress situations and have to do things lickety split, you know. But I also think manual labor, people should always have to,
Mhm.
like being a landscaper. It doesn't matter if your head hurts. It doesn't matter if you're having a bad day or you know you're having a relationship problem with a
Right.
loved one. The tree is right there. The boss says plant the tree in the ground. You have to do it no matter what,
Mhm.
and that teaches you how to get through certain things and and helps build an ethic that can't really be matched sometimes in other jobs. Because when I went from the jump from landscaping into like almost a corporate world with federal financial officer to college, you could put things on the back burner all day long in terms of these things. Oh, I'll get back to you later. Email
Right.
send. No, but in that type of situation, it's just
Mhm.
get it done, move forward, get it done, check it off the list, get it done. It's that and restaurants together are a great combination. I fully agree with you and your husband.
Yeah, everyone needs to get some of that, a taste of that. My husband used to say to the kids, get used to working hard now, so building your life, or get used to working hard for the rest of your life. Like
Right.
you're gonna, if you don't want to work hard and you want to be lazy, then for the rest of your life, you're gonna have to do manual labor and things that aren't so lovely. And because you decided that you didn't want to do anything about it early in your life. So
I learned that lesson. That's pretty
yeah,
much what happened to me. I
yeah,
was, you
yeah.
know, young 20s and I was just, my dad is he's a CFO. So shirt, tie, all that other stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm getting a tan and, you know, lifting dirt and soil and just manual labor, getting muscles, getting tan.
Bits, yep.
And I get paid for this is great.
Mhm.
And then at 26-year-old, you're like 26, you're like, I am not invincible. So I have to not use this. I got to
Right.
use this.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And
And you could forever. And there's people that make a great living, but if you're going to do it that way, you probably have to start your own company so that you're
right.
not making money for everyone else. And yeah, but like you said, eventually physically you won't be able to do the work. Someone else is going to have to do it for you. Then you're running a business, which you need this for.
That's literally
Yeah.
what happened to me. It was kind of like either I had to make the choice. Do I stay a landscaper and start my own business because I can do this? Or do I find a job that's different where I'm going to utilize my brain more? Which do I think is going to be the better career path? And I was like, you know, I think an office is where I need to be. I'm not a dumb guy. I'm a smart guy. So I
Yeah.
got to do this and I got to do it now. So that's how I made that change.
Smart, smart, smart. Okay. So as you were landscaping, general manager at a restaurant, getting into the insurance industry, how did you remain happy and peaceful and content along the way and still having a good life, even though you're trying to figure out where you wanted to be and stuff?
Uh, you know, making sure that I made time for myself and my friends and my family.
Yeah.
Um, Being a landscaper is tough because it's usually the best part of the year is when everybody wants things done and you have to work Saturdays and Sundays and so
Mm,
forth. So I was missing out. And then in the restaurant business, you're always missing out on those things. And that's why I left that industry real quick, is because I was
mhm.
missing out on life and I
Yep.
wasn't happy. And I wanted to see my friends. So for me, it's really having my own time for me, which could be anything from riding my bike, taking a walk, going to the gym, listening to music, and then just seeing family and friends. Those need to be part of my life.
Those are all such simple things, but important. And they're not something that people should be taken very lightly, because all of those things add to the pleasure in your life. And my husband used to say, I don't live to work. I work to live. I work so that I can live my life and enjoy my life outside of work. And the people that are living to work aren't probably enjoying themselves very much, probably doing way more than they need to do. And then at the end of the day, you're not getting an award for, I mean, you might get your award for working hard might be, or your reward might be, you have a lot of money in the bank, but if you didn't enjoy yourself along the way, or like you said, you're missing out on all these fun things on the weekend. Same with us. We were in restaurants and someone would have a wedding on a Saturday night. We're like, oh my God, Saturday night. Not only am I going to your wedding and spending money, but now I'm losing out on that money that I was going to make bartending or waitressing. It was like a double whammy for us. And we did that for years, and it was tough to miss those things. But same thing, I was going to college. I'm like, this won't be my life forever. I'm making this sacrifice now so that I can have something different later. Yeah, that's good that you had that mindset even at a young age.
It's just, I saw the way that my parents were and everything, and just looking at how other friends were progressing in their lives, and I was like, wait a minute, something's a little off here. They got a nice car and all this other stuff, and then they also have time off on the weekends. I was like, I can make the money, that's not a problem, landscaping, but I start missing out on things. So I was like, okay, there's got to be a way to find that balance to make it right. And that's really what it takes, is that balance. But I go to work every day happy, because I love my job. I love insurance. It's not that I really like reading insurance policies all day long. Who does? Nobody.
Right.
But I like the environment I'm in, the flexibility that it gives me, just the life that it presents me that I can have outside of insurance and that it gives me, is why I love insurance. But I also like dealing with people. I have very nice customers and clients. I do truly find it enjoyable if I, nail a big deal or something like that, help a client save $10,000, be like, all right, we saved you a little bit of money. And the client's happy. I'm happy. I still get paid. It's a great day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's smart. It's smart the way you're looking at it. And it's just it is like you said, loving insurance, but you're loving everything that it's providing for your life so that you can live your life, and you're still good at it, and people need the service, right, and people appreciate your hard work, and you also get to have this other balance in the rest of your life. So that's important.
Like any job, there are high highs, low lows. There's some pretty bad days where you're just like, ugh. But who doesn't have that? That's in every industry. You got to kind of take a look at the bigger picture of things and see how you generally are. Generally, this provides an awesome lifestyle for me.
Yes. Generally, I love that. Generally, what does this provide for me? I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think made you successful early on? So as you were in those different careers and doing well, and then especially making the leap to insurance, like how did you become successful and have this great job and this opportunity when you were doing those other things before?
It comes down to, I think, ethic and determination. And, the real aha moment for me was not switching from landscaping to an office and a GM. It was really when I was in federal financial aid. I learned federal financial aid in a year, and then I ran the department for my boss for the next 3 or 4 years.
Oh, wow.
And I said, if I can learn federal financial aid in 1 year and then go on to run it for my boss, I can do anything I want. If I just apply myself and go for it, I can do it. And that's what gave me the boost in confidence to be able to just be like, all right, insurance, let's do this. And not to mention, I had a great teacher. The founder of my brokerage, Brian Lydell, and Alan have been resources beyond belief when I was first, starting out. What is this? What is that? How do I do that? But it's also, another part of it is you have to be eager to go and get those things.
Right.
You can't just sit back. I'm training somebody right now, and some of the things that I do is I give them the information they need, and it's provided and it's there. And they'll ask me a question, and I will say, well, that's part of the information that I gave you. What I want you to do is I want you to go through all of that and then figure out what you need next after that. Don't rely on me for just this and this and this. Hey, what's that? Hey, what's that? It's right. Take it, analyze it, think about it, and then come back to me with what you have. A lot of times what I can relate to that is with something my father taught me. He goes, the higher in rank you go in any type of place, it's going to be, you're going to solve problems. And that's what people are going to start to come to you for. The bigger the problem, the bigger the paycheck. That's how he says it. And he goes, as a CFO, he goes, all my job is solving problems. That's it.
Yeah.
And he goes, that's kind of what you're going to do. And you're solving problems for your clients.
Yeah.
Problems just get more complex as you go along. And that's what it is.
Yeah.
So you have to think.
Yeah. It's about, yeah. It sounds so simple. Back to the simple things, like you have to think. Everything can't be, you can't just have me as a resource and ask me questions, but I'm not always going to be sitting next to you able to answer the question. That's why you have these other resources, and you can use your brain and you can analyze, like you said, reflect, think about it, come back and say, here's what's missing, or here's what I think is missing. What do you think? But you really have to be
it's critical thinking skills where you have to be able to go out and want it and get it and be like, okay, so I don't want to go to him with this question. And is there a way I can possibly figure this out?
Right.
And I have to do that with my clients. Is there a way I can figure out with this policy to get the coverage right? All right, let's talk to the underwriter. Let's see what kind of solution we can figure out here. That's what makes people good at what they do.
Yeah.
It's how you figure out how to do things better or the best way possible for people.
Right. Simple. Okay, so tell me about there's people that you're training right now, like you said. What do you tell people that ask you questions about either their careers or younger people that come to you and say, I really want to have this, how do I get there? Or what meaningful advice do you give people? I'm sure you've given a lot along the way.
Right.
Or people that say, I want to get out of the restaurant business. What can I do? I want to do something different with my life. What do you tell people?
I tell people that, look, there's going to be a period of transition that's going to be uncomfortable. If you're looking to go from one to another, look, it's going to seem like a drought. You're stepping off the edge of the mountain. You're insecure about it. It's almost like a leap of faith. Believe me, I felt the same way when I left a salary job as a federal financial officer to go run my buddy's restaurants. I'd worked in restaurants, but I'd never run one.
Okay.
And he was just like, you'll pick it up. Don't worry, you got it. I'm just like, do I?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things. So I tell people, I go, you can't be afraid to take that chance and, take that leap forward for yourself, because you have to know in the back of your mind that this is all for the better. And generally, I know I've said this before, generally things do work out for people, but you have to work hard at it. You may fall flat on your face. It may happen, but you got to pick yourself up and you got to go forward. I mean, I spent 10 years as a landscaper, 10 years. I went to college for it. Wow. And then I was like, and now I'm doing something different.
Yeah.
I'm going to go work in federal financial aid with spreadsheets. And I mean, I took some business law courses and some maybe like an Excel course in college, but I never expected this. I mean, I was like, okay, life is going this way. All right, now it's going that way.
I know. I love that advice, because transition is going to be uncomfortable, but it's not permanent. It's not fatal. Right. And P.S., you can transition to something. It can be uncomfortable and you can love it later, or you could be like, I made the transition. It's not what I thought it was going to be. All right, then you can just go the other direction. It doesn't have to be set in stone, but try something different. If you know you're not happy where you are, you're going to have to transition to something. So it might as well be something you're excited about and want to learn more about. And if it's not, then you're probably not transitioning to the right place.
Right. There's a few quotes that I actually have that are right outside my door. Or right at my door when I exit my bedroom. Life has its bends. Don't forget to turn.
Like life has its bends. Don't forget to turn.
Right.
Ooh, I like that.
And then
I like that one.
There's another one. It's, I forget what it is. The only easy day was yesterday. Those are the Navy SEALs. I respect and admire those guys.
Yeah, me too.
On them. But I mean, it's that mindset that you can find to be able to get those things done, and you fight through. The credit belongs to the man in the arena. There's just inspirational quotes that I have that can help guide you and be like, all right, today's not that bad. I mean, you could be dreading a simple situation, which most people tend to overthink, make a mountain out of a molehill. I do it. I know I do it. Like, man, I really don't want to have this conversation. But then, that didn't go as bad as I thought it would be. Right.
It's almost always worse in your mind.
Always. You're your own worst critic every single time.
Yeah. Oh, good advice. There's one I was just thinking of when you're talking about the Navy SEALs and being in the ring. It's like the people that come and criticize you. I think maybe Brene Brown, I read this recently. It was like, you don't get the right to say anything unless you're doing the work yourself. And the people that are always on the sidelines commenting on what you aren't doing well or whatever, it's like, no, you're either in it with me doing the work and you're not going to say anything, or you're out there going like, I don't agree with this. I don't agree with that. Oh, well, you're not doing the work, so I don't really care. You have to say this is not how it works.
That's totally true, but that also is a reflection of a leader. Because when being a landscaper, you're bottom of the barrel, shovel all day long, but then you graduate to doing the other work and so forth. And new guys will come along, and sometimes they won't think you've done that work, but then you go and you show them how it's done, or you show them a tip or a trick, and you lead by example. And that's how those guys underneath you gain that respect to work with you. And that is huge. You need that respect of people who are beneath you to do a good job, and they have to believe in you and you have to believe in them. So it really does, sink into, you have to know what you're doing and to be able to do it yourself. You can't just step in and be like, no, I haven't done that, but this is how you're going to do it.
Right.
The person's going to be like, no.
Yeah. And no one's going to respect it. And everyone knows who those people are, and they don't want to work as hard for them. They want to work for the people that say, hey, I've done it too. Here's how I did it. Or I'm in right in the grind with you.
Right. The other flip of the coin is, I know it's hard for me, but if there's a better way to do something and they point it out to you and you're like, I didn't think about it that way, but you're right. Let's pivot and let's go that way. You gotta swallow your pride and just go forward. But it helps the whole situation.
Yes. And people will think of it as like an ego thing, like you just said, but it's really not. It's has anyone thought of it? You probably didn't invent the way that they told you how to do the shovel thing or whatever you're showing them. But you've been doing it that way, so you feel silly when someone says, why haven't you been doing this way? You're like, oh crap, I could have been doing this way. For a second, you feel like an idiot, but you're like, well, I didn't invent this way. It's okay. Let's do it a different way. And I write about that in my book, about a little bit about I don't know if it's in the resilience chapter, but it's about joy. It's about using another process or using your imagination to create a new way of doing something at your job. And people might say, well, I do spreadsheets, how creative can that be? And I'm like, well, maybe there's a different way you can do it. You could ask, but if you just assume that everything you do has to be done the way you're doing it and it has to suck, nothing's ever going to change. But if you go to someone and say, I have an idea, can I try? Most people are not going to say no to that. Most people are going to say, you can go ahead and try it. Here's what we found in the past, but please, we'd love it if it could be easier. We'd love it if it could be different. Most good leaders are going to say, go ahead and try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Exactly. It is what it is. I mean, I invented a whole new system when I was at a federal financial officer because there was this insane thing going on. Insane. There was this insane process. And my boss literally came in and goes, I don't understand why you're not freaking out with all this stuff going on with your predecessor and the predecessor before that was in here nights, weekends. Sometimes they cried about it. And I was just like, it's a problem. And I'm going forward with it in a different direction using the sources that I have.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay. And then that became standard for the department.
Wow.
It took 3 months of work with the IT director to develop the program to do it. But once it was done, the predecessors were spending weeks, months manually typing in from one system to another.
Oh my gosh.
He pulled the data.
You helped him automate it. And why didn't anyone think of that before?
I don't know. That's just, I don't know.
It's an example of just bringing a new solution to an everyday problem, but it's crazy to think that some government office wasn't operating in the most efficient way possible. I don't know how that ever happened.
Oh, Chucky.
But no, it's just like, this is the way we always do things. It's like, but I have an idea, and maybe it doesn't have to be so painful. And
why are we
cool?
Question. Why are we doing it this way?
Yeah.
And if the answer is because it's always been that way, maybe you should challenge that.
Exactly.
We may find out that this is the best way.
Correct.
But we're going to give it a shot.
Just give it a shot. Why wouldn't you want to make it easier?
Right.
Okay. Final question for you. What do you wish you had learned earlier in your life or career?
Oh, a lot.
That's something.
What did I wish that I had learned earlier in my life and career? That I should really dedicate myself more in college and dedicate myself to working a better job rather than thinking I was right and that I could just be a landscaper forever.
Ah, wow. What does your dad say when you tell him that, or does he know that?
He knows that.
Yeah.
What does he do? What does he
Yeah.
say? He goes, as long as you figured it out.
You had to figure it out.
Right. And
And then,
that's me and my dad. I'm mule headed. I know I
yeah.
learned from my mistakes. I
Yep.
have to go through the process. And I've
Hmm.
made many mistakes. Many mistakes. Some big, some small, but
Yeah.
I have to go through that process, I guess. And that's just my dad had said, hey, you inherited it from me. So
He knew, yeah.
he's
He
like,
wasn't surprised to know that you probably the path you took. Yeah.
no, he basically said, he goes, you figured it out. I knew it would take time. I
Mhm.
knew you would get there. He goes, so what? So you're about 4 or 5 years behind where I thought you should be in your
That's
life.
nothing.
He goes, not a big deal.
That's nothing.
He goes,
That's nothing.
as long as you're on that path and everything is better, good.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
Right.
Yeah, our older son, he's graduated college now, but I mean, he did just fine in high school and stuff like that. But his freshman year, he did really good up till 8th grade, and then freshman year, they're like, you think you can coast a little bit now because he went to this private school through 8th grade, and he did really well. And whatever, he had more one-on-one help and all that. So he gets to high school, and they're like, you don't want to fall into this hole and kind of sit back because it's going to be hard to dig out of it. So they had seniors talking to the freshmen, they had freshmen talking to the freshmen, they had boys and girls and whatever. And but he just coasted a little bit. He just kind of wanted to get in there and see. And he dug himself a little bit of hole, not too big, but it was hard enough to he did so well, sophomore, junior, and senior year. And he never got to where he wanted to get with this GPA. And this is all his thing. And we're like, whatever. We know you work hard, just smart. You don't need to get straight A's. We don't care that much.
Right.
We do care, but whatever. But he was like, he got pissed that he was working so hard later and he was catching up from freshman year.
Right.
And then, here is junior and senior, he's getting straight A's. And he's like, why isn't my GPA affecting it? And I'm like, because it's cumulative. And everyone was telling you that freshman year. And I asked him finally, I said, Jake, what could we have said to you differently? Or any of those 5 or 10 people that they sent to you along the way as your little 14-year-old freshman mind, what could have been done differently for you to get that lesson sooner? He said, Mom, nothing. I had to learn it myself. Just like you said, I had to learn it myself. I had to do it. I had to be wrong about it. And I had to learn myself. But guess what he didn't do in college? He didn't do the same thing. He got right into it. And he's like, okay, right away, he saw he needed tutoring. He was at a really technical, he was in engineering classes. And he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, go to this guy, go to that guy, go to the smartest kid in your class and teach him how to play basketball so he can teach you how to be an engineer. I was like, go start to talk to people about what you need. And thank God he learned quickly. Yeah. But same thing. He was like, nothing. And I was just like you and him, where people would say to me, you might not be able to do this, you might be able to do that. I'm like, well, I'll see. I'll see myself. You're not going to show me. I'll show myself. And I knew I had the work ethic like you. I knew I'd figure it out eventually, but no one's going to tell me how I'm going to do it.
Right. I mean, there's things that I attribute to that ethic. It was obviously, landscaping was one of them, but it was also, I wrestled in high school. That's a hugely demanding thing. I thought I was going to give up a million times, and I didn't, and it's just one of those things that you prove to yourself. And then, then I was like, okay, well, I want to have a job and go to the movies. Well, I want to go to the movies with my friends at the beach and all this other stuff. My dad's like, that's great, get a job. So it was one of those things. So it was, I'll never forget this last little piece for me. My first day of landscaping, I was 15 years old. And we worked a 14-hour day. I had never done that ever in my life. Wow. I came back and my socks were bloody with blisters and everything like that. And I sat in my room and I had tears on my face. And my dad came in. He's like, "You all right?" I was like, "I'm good." And he goes, "You're going to work tomorrow." And then he shut the door. I was like, "So this is what it's like." It's you gotta go. There's gonna be really rough times in the beginning, but like your son figured it out. Went right at it and hit, like a freight train. You hit it running.
Yeah, your dad never would have let you get up the next day, blow off work.
No.
That's the parenting we need more of, because I know that there are parents that are my age in their 50s that just say to their kids, "All right, well, you can quit or you can do whatever," and I'm like, no, you could quit, but here's the consequences. But the dad has the wisdom, the mom has the wisdom because they can see ahead. And they can say, here's the same thing with Jake, the same kid. My husband said, find a job, fresh, in between your freshman and sophomore year of college, or we'll find one for you. And we were both in the
Right.
restaurant. We have so many contacts from the restaurant business. He's like, he's selling food. He's like, I'll find a job for you. And
Right.
and he waited and he dragged his feet and he didn't have one when he got back. My husband said, you're going to work for this guy. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, every weekend that summer, he had to go to festivals and where they had food, like just fest with food or whatever. It is labor. Like you said, you're on your feet all day long. You get there at 10 in the morning, you're working till sometimes midnight, 1 in the morning. You have to clean everything up. You're serving food all day. You're hot, you're sweaty, it's gross. You have to pee in the porta potty. I mean, it's disgusting. And he was drenched in sweat and he was getting paid cash and he's coming home every weekend. He missed out all these weekends. He's like, how am I gonna work out? Work out during the day, work out not on the weekends, work out on these other. He did it. And my husband's like, so he's like, guess what's gonna happen next year? And he's like, I'll have a job. He had a job before the middle of his sophomore year in college, he had the job lined up for the summer because he's like, I'm not doing that again. My husband's like, that was a great lesson for us to teach you. He's like, and I knew, he's like, you were dragging your feet. Now here's where you're going to work. You are going to work. And now this is going to suck.
That end of that first week. So I had bloody feet and everything like that. I didn't want to go, but I went, I did it. I got through it. And then I got the paycheck and I was like, okay, so that's
sweet. And Dan, weren't you so much prouder? Like if your dad had said, you don't have to go tomorrow, you would have been like relieved that day, but only for a day. Then you would have felt ashamed. Then you would have felt like a baby. But instead you went there with your blistered feet and whatever, and you picked up those shovels again and you went, right?
Gotta gut it out. I mean, it's one of those things. And wrestling, on the wrestling match, it's an individual team sport. That's what wrestling is.
Yeah.
Your points count towards the team, but out there on the mat, it's you and the other guy, and it's whoever gives up first. So fight it out.
Yeah. That's a great analogy with the wrestling. Our kids were basketball and baseball, and I know, like, I think of wrestling as a one-to-one sport, like you said, but it really is a team sport that everyone has to, but it's you and that person, and you have to have that competitive spirit. Like, no, they're not getting the best of me. That would be tough. But yeah, all those little lessons add up, and those parents that just say, you're not giving up, or you can't, or if you're going to quit, you're going to tell them, I'm not telling them, whatever it is.
I don't have kids, but I think they're doing the kids a disservice because, life is tough and you got to learn to pick yourself up and you got to work hard. You got to go get what you want. And really, that's all that really matters, is to get what you want. And that is, everybody wants happiness. Everybody wants money. Everybody wants all these things.
Yep.
Go get it. It's there.
Yeah. No one's going to hand it to you. And if you get it handed to you, you're never, ever going to value it the same way.
Right.
And you're not going to be a better person for it.
Correct.
No.
Correct.
That's awesome. Thank your dad for me. He's one of the good dads.
Yeah. Old school Irish guy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Still working. Awesome. 68 years old, still commutes to New York City. And I'm like, you don't have to do this. And he's like,
well, they say that keeps you healthy. They say that there's studies about people retiring and then just kind of like shriveling away.
Well, that's
because they don't have it's more about your mind.
Right. And I think that's purpose too, is he likes his job. My mom is semi-retired, but both of them have said, like, what are we going to do? I mean, we could travel and take some nice vacations and stuff, but what are we really going to do?
Every day you need something to do.
Correct. You need,
even if it's part of the day,
out of bed, every day. Dr. P always says he goes, what gets you out of bed? It should be intention.
Yes.
You need those.
Yes. And the earlier you can find that, the earlier you can find your purpose and your intention, the happier your life's going to be. And the longer you're going to want to work. People like, I get to do this work every day. I'm never gonna be like, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm just going to be done. And then I'll just like travel. I'd be like, that means we can't talk to people like this and I can't do stuff like this. I mean, like you said, with your business, it's like you're helping people, you have a good life, you can go do the things you want. You just stop doing that. And it's like, for what?
Right.
And you can still have a good life.
I also know that in my business, people are going to come talk to me no matter what, even if they're not my client. And that's one of the things that I do like, is I can just help anybody. Like, you come down the road, anybody will, well, I shouldn't say anybody. A majority of people will have a type of car insurance, a homeowner's insurance. They'll work in a business where they may have to deal with insurance, and everything needs insurance. This building, this car, that yacht, that whatever, it's all out there. And that was one of the things I was like, wow, it really is all out there. That does. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So it's wild. It's pretty wild.
Oh, well, it was fun talking to you. I wrote down some good lessons. I'm excited for people to hear your insights, and I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you being giving me the opportunity to be here to kind of share it. Thank you very much.
It's fun. I love hearing stories from people that have figured out how to live a happy life, and it's not all easy, but it doesn't have to be a pain in the ass every day. You know what I mean?
It does.
Maybe that's my new tagline. It's not always going to be easy, but it doesn't have to be a pain in the ass every day.
I really like that. I may have to write that one down. I put that on my list of things that are outside my door.
Quotes. Yeah. There was a quote I wanted to share, and I can't remember it. It was when we were talking about the quotes earlier. I'm going to find it and I'm going to include it with the notes, I think, but it was right up there with our conversation.
After this is done, I'll email you the entire list of quotes that I have, because it's a full page that, look, it's just a piece of paper on the wall, not framed. It's not nothing. It's right there. It's got nails holding it in on my wall, and I see it every day. And that's the point, is that I see it every time I walk out. Every time I'm going to leave my room, I see that.
You see it, and then it gets in your brain, and you remember it, and it becomes part of who you are. And it's just good. They're good reminders.
They're great reminders. It's, you got to keep it humble. You have to really kind of pull it back and whatever, have some humility with things, because I've made some huge mistakes that I really do like about it. And I beat myself up over it. And it's like, okay, there's only one way to fix it that way. And then you kind of have your empathy for your own self, and then for other people.
I have the perfect quote. I have a perfect 2 pages of a book, Dan, I'm going to send you after this. I was reading a book called The Law of Divine Compensation, but it's 2 pages about making mistakes and forgiving yourself and forgiving other people. But it's really like you doing the work. It's my friend just read it, and she's like, this is so powerful. So I posted it. I'm going to send it to you.
Please do.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Dan. Great talking to you.
Great talking to you.
Take care.
Right,
bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you love this content, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or whichever platform you found us on. You can get all my social media links in the description below. Help us keep the momentum going so that every person can live their lives happily, doing work they love.